Ta-da! We're live. All right. Hello and welcome back to another Wargamer Hangout. Apparently Wargamer Hangout number 26. Dan,
Really?
you and I have hung out 26 times.
Oh, feels like so much longer than
I
that.
know, like 100 years. Oh my gosh.
Ugh.
So I hear you were sleeping when this hangout was supposed to start because you
I
were
wasn't
so
sleeping.
excited.
I wasn't sleeping. I was like, I've been like training for a new job, and I've been getting up at 6, and I used to get up. Well, I've been getting up at 5, and I'm used to going to bed at 12. So I didn't change either of those things. Well, I changed the getting up. So I've been getting like 5 hours sleep for the last like 3 days, and I'm like, I gotta go to bed earlier.
That
So I
sounds
got home
awful.
from work, and I just kind of stared at a wall while eating Wendy's. And then I was like, and then Miranda texted me because she already messaged me on Facebook, but I didn't respond because I didn't have Facebook open. So she texted me, and then I was like, oh yeah.
It's like, hey, are we still friends? Question
here.
mark, sad face.
I'm so excited.
Yes, so excited. So what have we got today? Now, I know we're going to talk a little bit about new acquisitions. If we got anything new, I got something new, which is kind of awesome. But also the Steamroller 2017 beta was released, I think, today. So we should talk a little bit about that too.
Sure. Well, it's still circles and squares and flags. Nothing's changed there.
It's so wild and different.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm actually not in the CID. I'm just in some article that someone like summarized it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm not actually a part of the community integrated development. Just saying.
I'm gonna go look it up right now because I am part of it.
That's right. Go do your part, Dan.
If
I'm
only
going to take a moment to brag a little bit. I got a hold of Shadow War Armageddon, and I can't wait to start playing it. I know everybody in here who's watching me for my War Machine stuff isn't as excited, but too bad I'm really excited about it because I get to play sisters in it, and it's going to be sweet.
that would be good.
Pretty excited. Got Space Hulk and now Shadow War Armageddon. I just have to get it all painted up. It's a little bit of an intimidating box to open, and there's just like 10 or 12 sprues in there. Wow. Not used to seeing so many sprues. I'm used to putting together the miniatures and boxes, little bits of metal and stuff. So it's different. Oh, and in the chat, can't wait for Valhalla. Neither can I, because Shadow War will be painted up and awesome for that.
It's still so far away.
Oh, it's not. When
It's
you're
like-
planning it, it doesn't actually feel that far away.
See, for me, it's like Christmas. It's so far away that it's like, why get excited about it? It's gonna come eventually. It's gonna be amazing, but I just gotta like not think about it too much. Otherwise, I'm so disappointed by the lack of it happening now.
Just don't wait till the last minute to get your flight, like a certain Adepticon. Okay.
That's true. That is true. Well, I could drive down. No, I'm not gonna drive down. I have a nicer car that I bought. I don't know if I have any miles on it.
You can hitchhike down. I have suggested that.
I arrived like 3 days in. I got kidnapped. I fought my way out.
Yeah, apparently America's not so nice to hitchhikers. Oh, that poor hitchhiking robot. I feel so bad. Didn't make it like 6 hours. Like, all right.
I've always wanted to hitchhike though. I've never done it. But I'm like a big guy with a big beard, so I don't know how friendly people would be to picking me up. Once they got to know me, they'd love me.
Maybe
But
friendly.
it's like the same reason why cops are never nice to me. They see me and they're like, that's a mature, responsible man with his big beard. I'm not going to give him any leeway. but
He should know better.
honestly, that's how I feel. Because before I had my beard, cops were very nice to me because I looked like this little innocent woman. So I mean, it's with great power comes great responsibility, literally.
Great beards comes great responsibility.
Power beard is like a synonym. Anyways, so new Steamroller. What we got so far is contesting rules. As far as I can see, they're the same. There's zone control, which is the circles, or the rectangles. So a warcaster can score in a zone or a flag, but only warcasters can score on flags now. So you can't. So if there's a flag, only warcasters are eligible to go grab those points. And so I guess there's some playing around with that of like you can kind of push away from the zone and then run in and start gaining points. And if it's a circular zone, only infantry can score, and all of the unit has to be in it. You can't have half in, half out.
It's not the 4-inch rule, or what?
No, whole unit has to be in it, or what's remaining of it. And then a warjack or a battle engine or war beast or whatever, monstrosity, whatever other names you have for them. But so battle engines also count towards controlling the rectangular. And well, I mean, there's only one of them, so yeah, you're within it. You're good. And then objective, same thing. You kill them, you get a point. And kill box is only 10 inches now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I noticed the kill box shrank, so that's kind of nice.
I don't know. I always play kind of aggressively with my casters, so I always liked the fact that they also had to come up. It was rare when kill box was a bad thing for me. But what are you gonna do?
Well, it's bad if you want to play. Well, again, I haven't played much Mark III for like Old Witch and stuff, but if you have casters that like to play toward the back, kill box is horrible. But if you like the super aggressive macho fighting, then yeah, it doesn't mean that much to you.
So if you like the game the way it's fun and awesome, there's no problem. But if you're a little pansy and sit back, like all these Sloan Hunter lists. Oh, I played a couple games against Sloan, and like, it's still a thing, and it's still crazy. Like, they shoot 3 heavies off the board turn 1 without moving.
Well, that sounds fun.
I'm like, I'm gonna run forward. Oh, all these advanced range 16 hunters just get 2 shots and blow 3 heavies off the board. I still won that game, by the way.
Nice. Well, see, there you go. There's always a way to turn it around. Was it a caster kill?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had 1 heavy. So Arcadius is awesome. We wrote an article about it in that magazine.
Yeah, back when Comini was doing theirs.
You guys. Anyways, but yeah, Arcadius feats, and all his beasts just charged forward, and then the one war beast activated and ran forward. Or no, he ran and then charged. Anyways, I did a couple primal shocks into Sloan, and then I had some ranged war beast hitter. And I rolled well. So
what you're saying is you got really lucky playing.
I did a little lucky. Not really lucky. He got it killed, really, is what it was. You don't expect the length. But so the scenarios are just tons of crap on the board, it seems. Like, you better have some like good-looking scenarios. Otherwise, like, half the board is just filled with big circles and squares.
For the new Steamroller, you mean?
Yeah, new Steamrollers.
Well, here, before we get to that, I want to address some of the comments in here, just because we have audience interaction. We're nice like that. Let's see. Somebody wanted to know, Thomas, where you get the glass case cabinets. You must be talking to you, Dan.
Oh, that one? IKEA.
Wargamer's Haven.
It was like $50 to $60 Canadian. Very affordable. I'm thinking of buying another one.
Save money at IKEA so you can spend more on miniatures.
The only problem is that it's like too tall. I mean, it's good for like the Stampa, but for like most other things, you want like double the amount of layers, and so you kind of want to like make some custom stuff to put in some more layers. But yeah, it's pretty easy, straightforward. It says you're supposed to have someone with you to put it together.
But you don't roll like that?
I just had like big panes of glass, and I'm like, oh.
So that's real glass then? All right, nice.
Real glass. Yeah. No plastic here.
Oh, wow.
All real. All real, Dan.
Someone, Corgoon suggested, Barbie Chinu. I hope I'm not butchering that name too bad. Ever heard of the Cadoran space program? We're totally sending the first probe into space. I totally love this idea. This is how you bridge War Machine and 40K. It's just like they go into space. I mean, the scaling isn't quite the same, but we can work around that.
It's fine.
Let me see here. Got Assault Commandos. I actually got the new Privateer actually sent me the new Strakov, the Assault Commando Strakov. And I feel really bad because now I should actually like go ahead and buy Assault Commandos, which I've been meaning to do for like 3 years. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited. I saw his spell list and he seems pretty slick. Although I am kind of sad that the miniatures don't come with cards anymore. So you've got to just download them or use War Room or whatever. Are you using War Room now for all your games?
Yeah, it's just so easy. And yeah, I mean, why not? You make the one big purchase. It's slightly expensive, but at the same time, when you like think about all the updates and anytime there's an errata or anything, it's just all updated and you have all the information. You don't have to rewrite it down, reprint cards. I used to like just having the cards that mark down damage, but I've gotten used to just like it's fine. It's like even less errors because it's like, oh, you did 13 damage, you hit 5, and then you scroll until you see the number 13, click OK, so you're not miss. It's I like it. It's fun, but you just have to kind of invest in like an extra charger when you go to like tournaments and stuff. When you're like playing all day or at a convention or whatever, you just want that extra charge for your phone, or just have a separate tablet that is dedicated to it.
That sounds slightly more expensive than cards.
It's the way of the future, Miranda.
Yes, technology has never let me down.
Ever. Never, ever. That's why it's so good.
Man, I should have gotten a nap before this live hangout. I need to be in a better mood. It's hot.
Will Convergence of Cyrus ever get new units?
No, never.
Probably not.
Done.
I think Convergence of Cyrus was intended to be like a partial faction. It was never intended to be a full-fledged, crazy amount of faction. Just like the Grimkin that are coming out. It's meant to be like its own little mini faction.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they're not going to they're not going to make Grimkin crazy amazing either, like as diverse. So you might get some COC, but probably not. I mean, a few things here and there over the years, maybe.
You'll get something. But to be fair, I do think all of their stuff is pretty strong. You don't have to worry about having too many options where your synergies are off.
It's just nice, like when you play like a faction, like say Signar, where it just has so many options and so many different ways to play, or even Khador, like just like these like established factions that you can, well, I can play this, or I can play this, or I can play this, or this is strong, well then I can play this and this, instead of like being kind of pigeonholed a little bit. So there's like dozens and dozens. And when will you get your Revelator? No idea. I actually started or I didn't start, but I was part of a thread in some Facebook group. I think it was Minions actually. And I was like, Privateer Press is awful at releasing models. They're so behind on so many things. And one guy's like, here, let me help you out. What has not been released? And I looked, I'm like, oh, actually, they've caught up. They've been doing a lot better. But no Revelator.
I think they worked out their bottleneck in production for that.
But still no Revelator. No release date even.
Well, there's always going to be something.
But I don't feel bad for Menoth, because Menoth are jerks.
It's true. They're just big bullies.
Well, Menoth is the jerk. Anyways.
Barbie Chinu. I feel like I'm just saying that wrong. Anyway, it looks like he's quoting Hungerford here. The intent is to have scenarios which are still live, but to remove the play experience of all scenario play simply being a race to win, a race to 5, with assassination always being the worst option. Do you agree with that sentiment?
I don't. The old steamrollers seemed like if somebody misplays a bit, you start to win on scenario, or once things start dying off, you just start looking at, because like when so many things are on the board, it's just like you just can't win on scenario unless someone makes a big mistake, and so it's kind of like you kind of grind through some things, and then it's kind of like, okay, scenario. But
Well, I
with this
guess
one, it's like you can start scoring real early in a lot of them, but you have to have 6 more than your opponent, which is like, it seems like a lot.
well, it does, especially with it canceling out at the end of turn 7, right? There's a turn 7 lock.
Right. Oh yeah, that's true. Does that mean you win if you have more control points? Or is it a tie at the end of 7?
The first player to earn 6 more control points than the opponent immediately wins the game via scenario victory. So that's an immediate win, which means that the end of 7th turn would probably be a just a TKO, I guess.
Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of research. But one thing, we're very prepared for this. One thing that was cool is that
It just came out today. I do not feel bad about this. I've been excited about my new board game, so whatever.
I've been at work all day. The scenario, or the scenarios, the objectives are now constructs, which means they can be repaired. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
When that's like a huge deal, or when like I'm thinking like if I could repair, would I? Maybe sometimes, like when they leave something and they like when it only has like 1 box left, and they just need to like tick it, and you're like, or you just like repair. Convergence of Cyrus, Father Lucant, you can just like repair, and they all get like.
Well, yeah, because they're still considered friendly, right?
Mm-hmm.
To your own side. Oh dear, this is interesting.
So you can pop it right back up.
Turn 7 victory. Rocks fall on 1/2 of the map. Sounds legit.
That sounds like orcs. Just call them rocks.
Yeah, I mean, so they're switching stuff up. To me, it looks like a lot of the same. I hate the the Quidditch style play of like, oh well, in this case, this is what scores for this type of shaped piece of objective zone. And for this, only the quarterback can score here. And like this, okay. I mean, it's very gamey again. So if you like that, it's fine. But I don't know. Like, feels like you should be fighting over something maybe a little more. Like, like trying to take somebody else's objective. Like they have something you need, and you need to go like take it from them instead of just destroying it. Would be a thought. But so again, I see it, and I'm like, okay, so that's kind of cool. They've changed some of it up a bit, but it doesn't seem as dramatic as I'm hearing it be described to me.
Yeah, no, what I feel like they have their flags, they have their rectangles, they have their circles, and they have their objectives, and they don't want to mess with that because like there's so many people who have bought objectives and different things, and they didn't want to shake it up too much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you had something where it's like attacker defender, it would definitely be a more interesting game. But for the 2-list tournament where you like, one like elimination, like it's just like if you have an attacking force, but then you get chosen as defender, but then like it becomes very unbalanced, and because of the amount of skews and different things you can bring, that's already somewhat of a problem when you're going to a tournament. If you have those kind of polarizing scenarios, it would just toss everything up. I think they should still exist, and people should still play them. But as for like a tournament, it's just the community is so hyper sensitive to anything that's slightly imbalanced that they would just open revolt. I think if they tried
a revolt, they would just be picketing outside of Privateer's office.
Yeah, probably burn it to the ground before that happens. Just like straight up, just like, no, we don't want it. That's the feeling I get from the community sometimes. And in the past, when you like try to mess up the scenarios to have more fun, people just do not like it at all.
Well, but what about when you go to conventions and they have like the special, specifically not balanced scenarios, like the one that you and I played, where you have sort of the cliff face and the gate, and you're trying to hold out, like.
Right.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it, but
What's
not
wrong
a lot
with
of people.
Dan? Why is everything always wrong with you?
But it's in the Iron Arena, where only the most casual players exist. and not that many people even play on it. And if they do play on it, it's only because you get extra points to get more free things at the desk later on.
No, it's totally not why I played on it.
I know. And there are those of us that exist, and I'm sure there's more out there, plenty. And I'm guessing our audience is more geared towards that. And so maybe my ranting is falling on deaf ears, but or preaching to the choir. But like, there is a fun way to play, and there's a competitive way to play. But some people find that fun, and that's for them. And even though it's an age-old debate of whatever.
Well, yeah, that's the age-old debate of like, is competitive fun, or are highly competitive games designed for casual, and that whole sort of ridiculous argument where you're either one or the other and you can't be both, and there's like this weird elitism toward the other side, and like really weird, pointless rivalries. So whatever. That said, speaking of gamey games, because the new Steamroller 2017 isn't exactly rocking my socks off, I am rather excited about the new. Well, this is last quarter, but have you looked at the rules for Grind?
No, I didn't even hear about it.
Well, yeah, I know it was a game a while back, but they've kind of come back with it where you only play Warjacks and War Beasts, and it's play ball basically. So I've been going through that because I'm actually excited to try out a Grind game. That one, it's you get to play with all Warjacks or War Beasts if you're into that sort of thing. And it's kind of neat because you have these different manufacturers. So you get this pool, right, to buy your Warjacks from. And they don't all have to be like the same faction either. So, for example, the best place to make Jacks right now is called Empire Assemblies. That's obviously the Cadoran one. Then you have like Engines Caspia, which is Signar. And you can mix and match Jacks from there. So you can put together a team, and your team is... So I haven't played Guild Ball. I don't know if it's quite like Guild Ball. It might be kind of like Blood Bowl, but it's kind of into that sports arena again. But this one is, deliberate, and there's specific arena rules. So I'm excited to try this one out, despite it being gamey, So expect that going forward. The no quarter actually comes with cutouts for the pillars, because you set up an arena. It's on a 30 by 30 board, I believe. You have to like toss a ball into a pit, and you have to avoid these hazardous terrain bits and stuff. It's pretty exciting. It's arguably more exciting than the next no quarter, which talks about the pro wrestling that you can do. What is it called here? 1 second. Extreme Colossal Wrestling. Have you heard of that one?
No. That sounds awesome, though.
The best part of the whole article is seeing an Archangel in a luchador helmet. But, yeah, that's a little much for me. You have to play with Colossals to do that.
Well, I've been thinking of picking up the new Signar Colossal, the Hurricane.
Yeah?
And then I have 2.
Do you think you'll...
2, right? You got the new one and the old one. I can't remember their names.
Are you talking about mine, like Victor and Conquest?
That's their names.
Yes. I do have Victor. He might still be in his box. It's been a busy year.
He's a little shy as all, and in pieces.
It's gonna be fine. Look, we all got caught up in stuff to make, and I've got a lot of projects, not necessarily wargaming, going on. So I apologize, and I'm just kind of slow at it anyway. So, we've got new comments. Yes, Michael. Apparently, he agrees with you. Unbalanced, unique scenarios can be a ton of fun and often result in the most memorable games. Yes, I agree.
Like when we played our scenario game at Adepticon, like I crushed you. Not to brag, but it was just like my army was just kind of, it just worked out.
I was playing Karchev, so
Yeah.
I mean, if you like winning,
But I mean, it was just fun, like running in over the rough terrain and just like coming in and it was like blowing stuff up and it was like, It was very cinematic, and it was
Well, it's just fun, right?
a good time.
Yeah, you just sort of see how well you can handle a ridiculous situation.
For those of you who don't know, I was playing, or should be most of you, I was playing Striker 2, his old theme list, MR2, which had like just a bunch of charging, crazy, powerful, nasty, just
Yes.
Charge of the Storm Brigade, I think it was called. And it was right into like, a defensive. It was like the perfect scenario for that list. So good.
Yeah, it's just like the Hammersmith list where it was just, we just polarized the wrong way. Let's see here. Thomas says, I think the story building is my favorite part. I'm not sure if that falls to casual or elite. So that's an interesting question, because when you start looking at campaign games, you actually start looking at playing like the long game over just an individual battle. I know with, if you watch mini Wargaming's reviews here on Shadow War Armageddon, part of the tactic of winning can be just to pull out your forces in the middle of the game, and that game's over. There are a bunch of just really short games over a whole campaign. So given the fact that that requires a fair amount of dedication, I don't know, where would you say that puts you if casual to, I don't know, highly competitive was a spectrum, which is arguable.
Shadow War, as well as like, the old Necromunda and like Mordheim and all these kind of games, they lean towards a more casual gaming experience. Mostly because you can have this super elite soldier that gets just killed and murdered, and it's just gone. And you're like, oh, dang it.
Yeah.
Johnny, no. And so
lost
if you
both
take it
legs.
seriously, you're just not going to have fun.
Well, you might. I mean,
that's why if you take it too seriously.
Oh, I see. Well,
so like you just have to have that. There's going to be things out of my control, and I might get screwed. I might get really lucky. Whatever. We're just going to have fun with it, and that's why I'm looking forward to playing some Shadow War as well. And I'm trying to get a local group to start up some more time. Just like that super old game, but that's just still holds up if you get a right group. So it's Shadow War just seems like a lot of fun, and is more casual in nature, I would say. At least that's how I would approach it and play it. I'm sure there's some people who will try to break it and play really competitively. But
my gosh, I'm skipping all around these comments. Hey, Ian from Utah is in here. Hey, Ian. So for those of you in the audience, you might remember the, which one was it? It was The Life of a Wargamer with the second installment of the Voodoo Doll at Valhalla, where Dave gets taken over by the Voodoo Doll, and then the guy in the kitchen area, I guess, who tells Dave that he's being a no, it was the beard llama. That was it. You're being tormented by a llama. That was it. Oh man. And then he just starts playing this amazing guitar. I love that scene so much.
That was really good. I miss him.
Valhalla was pretty much the coolest thing ever.
Now you got me thinking of it again.
I know.
Sad that it's not closer.
All right, I need to get through these comments here. So anyway, welcome, man. I'm so glad to see you. Sorry I didn't see you last year. I hear you were sick, so we'll just have to fix that this year. Don't be sick. My goodness, there are so many comments. Casual is not filthy. Yes, I agree. That's a stupid term. Arcade Orange communists. Maybe. The views represented by the Cadorn Empire do not necessarily represent those of the player. Oh man, I feel like I'm missing a bunch. Sorry. So, what else have we got here? I don't know.
Ooh, there's new terrain set up.
What? For the scenarios, you mean?
Yeah. So they...
Oh, that's right, where you have to deal with it, which is good. I mean, the fact that you could just scoot it to the side or the borders and stuff made it ugly in a game store and
so there's
defeated the point.
There's 3 different methods that they recommend. Um, the tournament organizer. Well, I guess you had to choose one of those. But so basic rules: you can't place within 6 inches of any table edge. You can't place within 2 inches of any other terrain piece. However, trenches can contact with other trenches. Blah blah blah. You can't be placed within deployment zones or 5 inches of any other restricted terrain piece. And restricted is like hazards, obstructions, and obstacles. Everything else is unrestricted. And each table should contain a minimum of 2 line of sight blocking terrain pieces.
Ew.
But those can include fog, like dense fog, that can like disappear as the game goes on.
Oh, I see. So parking lot games are somewhat less possible?
Oh, never mind. Players do not roll to determine if terrain features such as burning earth or dense fog randomly disappear. They remain throughout the game. So in casual games, they'll disappear as no rules, but in Steamroller, if the fog's there, the fog's there. It doesn't matter what's happened. Okay, so there's a cluster method of placing terrain. So you put a line of sight blocking terrain at the center point of the table. So some point of the terrain has to touch the center point. Then you place a piece of terrain within the 6 inches of that piece of terrain. Then you place another one within 6 inches of both those. And then you just like place them around. So they're all like 6 inches of the middle one and another one.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's so you can get bases through.
And then, that's for the first 5. And then any remaining that you have not within 8 inches of any other terrain placed, but have to be within 6 inches of each other. So there's like another side cluster somewhere. All right. Could be interesting.
I don't know if you mentioned
especially with some of the scenarios with like, they're all like crazy clumped. And so Pathfinder is going to be super important. And the terrain looks like it'll be relevant, which has always been an issue in the past.
Which it should. I know it can affect balance, but I mean, it's kind of the rub, as it were. There's also only 6 scenarios that I'm seeing. So used to be like 10 and then maybe 6 or something for masters, and then they've reduced.
Oh, yeah. Well, so far.
That's true. I suppose all of this is totally subject to change. It is, after all, a beta.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, indeed. Hey, somebody's wanting to know if either of us play 40k. I don't know, Dan, do you play 40k? Have those orcs come out of hiding yet?
Theoretically, I play 40k.
War Machine kind of took you away from it, huh?
It wasn't. No. War Machine was like the excuse to get away from it. I was just looking for something else, and when I found it, I was like, okay. So I wouldn't blame War Machine. I would just blame any other game that I had happened upon. It just was War Machine. I don't know. 40k got really sad for orcs really fast in 6th edition. Didn't improve in 7th edition. And didn't improve with the new codex.
Oh, really? Not at all?
I mean, a little. I don't know. They took away a lot of things. It's just, the game rewards you sitting on your side of the board and shooting the crap out of the other player, and not really moving too much. Is what I've seen, and maybe it's changed. I haven't really looked at the game closely over the last like year or two, but it's like I said, like just like War Machine. I like everybody getting in the battle and mixing, and it's dangerous, and you could lose at any time, but you're like, ah, and that's the fun. I like brawling. That's why I was drawn to orcs, and you're just like, bleh.
Orcs are pretty fun. I had fun at Last Valhalla playing the team game.
It was a good time. It was a good time. But when you're just sitting at both sides of the board and you're just shooting at each other with like 1 or 2 deep striking units that kind of like mix things up, it's just, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. You got to get into the fray, and it just War Machine.
You're in the fray whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it
unless
rewards,
you can spell assassinate, or unless you can have
getting,
another ranged game.
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean,
it's not perfect.
no, not at all. But
it's more.
40k just seems to reward more and more ranged combat. I mean, and there are some stuff that, yeah.
I was gonna say, I thought Chaos was kind of what owned 40K anymore, and they would run in and melee the crap out of you. I know that's how I would oftentimes lose my sisters. Stupid sweeping advance.
The good old days we could sweep in advance and then go into another combat and you can't do chat. It took
Or
all that away.
Those challenges.
Yeah, challenges are ridiculous.
Like, come on.
I hate challenges so much. I think they're so, like, it's like, I'm going to challenge. It's like, oh, look, you're orcs. You want to bring 30 guys with one super guy that's really good that can kill almost anything in the game as long as he stays alive. We're going to introduce a mechanic in the game, so first round of combat, that guy dies.
Ooh,
You're like, what? What? Come on.
We've got a couple folks in the audience pretty excited to build a Kroot army. They're the ones that are subjugated by Tau, I believe, the ones that can take on the powers of those they consume.
Yeah. I mean, what War Machine lacks is, and it's debatable, but it just doesn't have as many fun models and fun just modeling and painting. No one can compete with Games Workshop for models.
Yeah, man. Yeah, when I was picking up Shadow War Armageddon the other day, I was looking at all their new stuff. It's like, and I'm still just super impressed with the way I have Space Hulk put together. It's like, oh, here's this really ornate Space Marine or a Tyranid. Yeah, it's about 3 pieces. And I'm like, wow. I don't even know what to say to that. That's amazing. You win. You win at modeling.
Richard Olson is sad that we aren't putting up battle reports. What say you? Will you make some?
Yes, I'm working on them. It's hot in this office. Did I mention that? No, I've got, so it's a little harder as we get closer to Steamroller stuff, so I have a different idea in mind for how I'm going to do some of my battle reports, but for what it's worth, I've got a Malifaux on the timeline now to start working on, so that actually should get pumped out somewhat soon. And then I'm still doing Space Hulk, so I'm trying to get those games out. And of course, I want to get in a game of Grind, like I mentioned earlier. So there's going to be a little bit more variety. And then there's, of course, my new game, my new acquisition there. That's going to totally get up on the channel too. But it's going to be a little while since it has to get painted. So yes, War Machine's going to happen, plus a bunch of other stuff. So really, I'm just hoping to kind of swarm my channel with actual activity over the next couple months.
That'd be good.
And I am still doing a little bit more with the video game stuff. You know, we're going to hang out and play some Vermintide later, if you're still down. And Dawn of War 3 comes out next Saturday. Not this upcoming Saturday, but on the 27th. So that's going to
take enough time. I mean, it's getting nice outside, and so I want to go outside, and we're like slack climbing and hiking mountains and rock climbing and all that stuff. But
you suffer from genuine wanderlust. I don't leave my house unless I'm dragged out.
No, it's so good. It's just like, it's so like soul fulfilling, just out in the wilds. But then I'm like, but StarCraft got remastered. I want to play StarCraft all day. And Dawn of War 3 came out. I'll play that all day as well. Yeah. Oh wait, Vermintide. I'm like Left 4 Dead with killing. Yes.
It's a lot of fun. And some of it's just easier to do. I mean, you work on a battle report and like, I love the end result of it, but you're like, okay, now we schedule the recording. Okay, are all these models painted? Okay, is the terrain board set up? Okay, we're going to spend this several hours recording. Okay, sweeten the finish. Okay, now do the script. Okay, now do the editing. You're like, man, that's a lot. Or play a video game. Boy, that was fun. Upload, done. Like, man, I'm in the wrong industry.
12 Neat challenges us to his Rulix.
What? So in the most recent No Quarter I was reading, which happens to include the mysterious continent of Zoo, there's a battle report in here against the Rulix, which just made me feel bad for them all over again.
The Rulix are fine right now.
I don't think that the new Mark III really addresses their speed issues very well.
No. But they're dwarves. They're not supposed to be fast. They're supposed to be hardy. I mean, they're not the hardiest.
Well, but I mean, that's the problem. Like, War Machine is a game of sledgehammers. Let's not fool ourselves. So, I mean, no matter how tough you make yourself, there's always plenty of things to crack you. Like, it's part of how they keep the game active. So I do think being super slow with no real way to address it becomes very difficult, especially since the scenarios are pushing you so far up now in the new Steamroller 2017. Again, I haven't played Rulix. I could be totally wrong on it, but that's my impression, given the fact that I don't see them getting really any benefit to Mark III.
Yeah, the more I'm looking at the scenarios for the new Steamroller, I feel like there's going to be so much terrain all up in that shiz, up like all over the circles and the rectangles, just being terrain all over it. And so I'm kind of excited to try it out. Like, some of them are similar to the old ones, but like the other ones where there's just everything there, it's like I feel like it's going to be easy to like cut the board more in half and like kind of start scoring. And then, because if you just get up a couple of turns, then like it's kind of like the slow game, but at the same time, it only gets 7 turns. So what do you do? I don't know. I'm excited. I think new things are new. I'm excited. Like as much as I am for 40K right now, there's 8th edition on the horizon. And so I'm excited for 8th edition. Even if I'm going to hate it, I'm excited to see what it's going to be. I'm excited to see the change.
I've been itching to bust out my sisters again for some time, so it's always a little nerve-wracking for me, just because, like, with the new edition, I'm pretty excited because I'm like, oh, good, I can make a battle report, and it's not like there's a new edition out like 2 months later or something. So I look forward to having some pretty awesome games with that. But again, mostly right now, we're gonna start with some Shadow War Armageddon. Did I mention I'm really excited that I have this game?
I don't think you have.
No? Okay, good.
Show it more.
Richard says, the prospect of more terrain makes my Signar heart sad. I don't even play gun lines. I just don't have much Pathfinder available to me. Well, and I mean, you've got, was it Saxon Auric? Can't Signar work with them?
Nope.
No.
You get Rupert.
You
get Rupert,
okay. Rupert,
and you get Archduke Runewood. So there's two models, 8 points. You give 2 units Pathfinder. Bam. As for your jacks, well, you're just screwed.
Just play Colossals. They all have Pathfinder innately. Hey, doesn't the Stormcrawler, whatever it's called, have the... Does that not have Pathfinder?
Yeah, all battle engines have Pathfinder.
Oh, okay, good. I don't know. I still don't own the Khadoran battle engine, so...
Carriage. Don't you like it? I'm not a big fan of the aesthetic of it.
Well, I wanted to change it out for bears, and I think I mentioned this in a previous one, because I saw Warhorse, and my heart can't bear the thought of there being like horses pulling that big tank. So.
But Miranda, the horses are there so more men don't die.
Yeah, but horses are infinitely more sympathetic.
So you'd rather have horses alive than your fellow countrymen?
Hey, I'm not Ein Van Haar. It's not my problem. I'm just saying, I'm going to put some bears there. Or maybe make it mechanized.
Wait, so it's okay to murder the bears?
They're not feeling it. They're bears. Have you seen what bears can do? I have spent hours on YouTube looking at what bears can do. It is crazy. They are fine.
Bears. I used to be terrified of bears. And then I met a bunch in the wild. And I feel like you respect them, they respect you, and you're fine. You always have the slight terror, though, that you're like, this guy could snap, and I wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
No, have you seen the Russian dude? Okay, so we're off Wargaming now, but have you seen the Russian dude who has the bear dance with him and, like, sit in the chair? And you're like, wow, at any moment, this could be a come-up snuff film.
Yeah.
So, anyway, digressing. We got 5 minutes left here, Dan, so just saying.
What shall we talk about?
Well, are you going to jump in on the new Steamroller when it starts? Are you going to put out some more battle reports? And are you going to any conventions this year, other than, of course, Valhalla, which isn't a convention, but we're just going to throw it in there anyway?
Let's see. Definitely, yeah, I'll probably play the Steamroller on Thursday.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you been contributing to the community integrated design? Is that what it's called?
Well, not yet. It just came out. I wrote like a paragraph on the Grimkin. I participated a little bit.
So Dan, okay, well, I mean, what can I say? You're doing more than me. The scenario layout's certainly kind of interesting. I'm glad the kill box is not as big, but yeah, I'll be curious to see how the different types of models being able to score will work, especially when you have stuff like SKU lists. So like if you want to run just, I don't know.
I think that's part of it, is that if you run the SKU list, then you're at a disadvantage. Right?
Theoretically. But I mean, I guess if you're running a SKU list, no, you can run SKUs to win on scenario, at least in the past.
No,
I was going to say it's usually assassination, but...
Wait, is it only units that can score, or can solos score as well? I got to look at it.
To answer your question, Wolf, conventions this year, I don't have any planned. I was going to go to LVO and Adepticon, and that didn't happen. So I may go to... There's a convention out in Amarillo I just enjoy going to, so we'll see about that. And mostly it's going to be Valhalla. That said, I am going to BlizzCon, which I know isn't wargaming, but I've been excited to go to BlizzCon for years, and I finally got the opportunity to, so I'm doing that. Yes, I did. So I'm going to be in the same town as Disneyland and probably not going to Disneyland. I'm going to BlizzCon.
As someone who has been to Disneyland when they were 10, it's all right. I like Universal Studios more, actually.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
But, yeah, it's just like a big, crazy thing that's happening. It depends. I mean, I have friends that still go down to Disneyland that are my age, and they get really excited about it.
Yeah.
Hey, to each their own. We play with little dolls.
And then August 31st to September 3rd is Nova Open, which I've actually never been to. I'd be down with it. It just seems... I don't know if the timing of that would work out, but... Yeah, I've never been to Nova Open. The idea is maybe.
Actually, next weekend, or not this one coming up, but the next one after that is Alberta's con, called GrotzCon. So I'm very excited for that. It's like 3 days. There's 40K, and I think some people are playing Infinity, maybe Malifaux, lots of War Machine. It's a really good time, and it's only like an hour and a half away. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, still getting a hotel room because need to party hard. Well, play until you fall asleep on the table.
Yeah, I don't have anything that close unless I'm into Infinity, which I was still surprised when I stumbled into the freaking largest Infinity tournament happening in the U.S. like last month. It's like, yeah.
So I was talking to someone about that, and there's just as many players up in like the Northeast, like, New York, Toronto area, but they just don't have any big tournaments for no reason. And all the Infinity players are like, what the heck? Why is it all the way over there? If anything, there's more Infinity players over in that side of the continent, but
yeah,
for whatever reason, they just don't hold the tournaments. It's like, I don't want to run it. It's kind of the feel.
That's effort. You know what?
It's like, you don't know how good you have it, Miranda.
What, being like 100 miles in any direction from anything? No, I love Albuquerque and all its quirky, weirdness.
Quirky Albuquerque.
Indeed. Hey, you had a good time when you hung out here. So,
it's true.
Conquest? Have you guys talked about the general shift towards skirmish level war games the industry is experiencing? Longer than 5-minute conversation, but still interesting. It is, and yes, it is definitely the way we're seeing. I mean, to be fair, if you want to start a new game or a new game company, why wouldn't you start off with skirmish?
I think it's nice. You can start a game and not pay like $500 to just get into it, like you have to do with these other big games. And so it's just good for entry level. You can go test the waters. You can play a couple different factions and not break the bank. The games can be shorter. They're like things like Frostgrave. You're not limited to their line of models. You can kind of play with whatever models you want.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Skirmish games are kind of interesting, especially if you play campaign games, because they feel like they bridge the gap between, if you were to look at, you know, I don't know, levels of gaming nerdiness, where like video games are super, super mainstream, and then you've got like role-playing games which are fairly mid-level, like a lot of people play those. Then you get like tabletop games, and that's like, I'm sorry, before role-playing games, you probably have just board games, but either way, it starts getting like more and more niche. So like skirmish games are kind of in between like role-playing games and then I guess full-blown war games where you're really playing an army, because this is, you know, skirmish is more gang warfare, just small tactics. So it's kind of cool. I mean, it's growing the industry. More people are going to play it because of that, but it's a different kind of game. I mean, if you look at 40K, if you look at the way the really big style games played, you know, what is it, 8th edition fantasy and whatnot, like, that's a different kind of game when you're playing all day on a board. You see an apocalypse game, like, that's a different feeling, it's a different play style, it's a totally different tactic. But yes, having the skirmish games, I think, are overall good, just because it gets more people in at all. Yes. I agree with that.
And me personally, I just kind of like am geared towards that a little more. I just don't have the time to paint a regiment of like 40 dudes, right, to play. And it's just like, I mean, I can find the time, but it's just like the desire isn't there. So I kind of meander back and forth between like, yeah, intense hobbying and playing, and then kind of going casual, you know, on my adventures out into the wilds. And so it's
probably fair to bounce around a bit.
You know, not having to commit as much to a game is really appealing to me.
Yeah. Manta. Huh. Would you ever do a narrative campaign for War Machine? Mini Wargaming tried that, and like they had to jerry rig the rules, I think, to make it work. Because if you have regular known characters, I don't know that really fits as well. But
you could. The biggest problem that Mini Wargaming had with their narrative campaign is that all the players were so obsessed with Steamroller and terrain rules that they thought that it was imbalanced games, and they didn't have fun with it, and they just didn't want to play them. And so Matt was like, "Okay, I'm not going to do it then. If you're going to resist that much, we're just not going to do it." And so. So that's what happened there. In general, why there's not a lot of War Machine, or they stopped War Machine for a while on Mini Wargaming.
And then, of course, the hobby is super expensive. I mean, it is. I would definitely consider wargaming a luxury hobby, if we're being honest. You know, it's not just the buying of miniatures, which could be $100+, but then the time to assemble and paint it all up and learn the rules. I mean, it's a huge investment of time and money. So yeah, you're doing that as a luxury.
What would you define as not a luxury hobby?
Working on your car.
Knitting.
Because your car's practical. I don't know. Knitting, even, I don't know. I don't know anything about knitting. I would guess it's more practical, but So, I mean, and that depends too. Like, are you making a physical product versus are you working your brain? Because that's the thing I like about strategy games in general, is you're learning to think steps ahead. It's really, really good exercise for your brain. So you should do that anyway. But just the high level of cost definitely makes it more of a luxury. I don't think there's necessity hobbies so much, but there's certainly like easier to get into hobbies. And yeah, knitting is stupid cheap to get into, so you could definitely do that.
Yeah, I take for granted sometimes I've like fleshed out like Signar so much, like there's barely any models I don't own, and so it's like, oh, we're switching editions, and I'm like, oh, these models that I've played like twice, we have them all. Everyone's like, oh, you're just, you know, buy all the powerful stuff. I'm like, no, I bought everything. I have all the powerful stuff and all the crappy stuff all the time.
Yes.
And so you're like, oh, well, why aren't you playing this? That'll be stronger. They're like, because it costs money. You're like, oh yeah, I remember being at that stage. You know, good luck. just
which would suck when you started into the hobby and they'd be like, oh, is that what you bought? And you're like, what? Now I started off with Winter Guard, so I was fine. But I know that it could have been, it has created issues for some people I talked to who played.
Yeah, like with the bigger ones, yeah, if you don't buy the right stuff that fits in the meta currently, you just get rolled over every time, sometime. And so when that happens, it's like, eh. So that's another disadvantage to having the huge model range, is that they're not all balanced and useful. Or, you know, one errata later, they're not good anymore. And you're like, oh, well, I just spent $100 on these guys. And like 10 hours painting them. Oh, well.
Well, I mean, they're still usable. They'll be usable again. Or, I mean, you actually do find creative uses for them and surprise people. So, you know, I don't think it hurts you.
No, I mean, well, it depends. If I'm trying to play like against my real competitive friends, those lists just get destroyed.
Yeah. Just
because like they're perfectly designed and they have like I can't catch them off guard. I'm like, I'm gonna do a little trick, and they're like, oh, they saw it coming. Well, I'm gonna do this. Oh, they saw it coming.
Oh, there goes half my army.
Play just good straight War Machine, and they see most all the tricks coming. So a lot of my lists just don't work, unfortunately. But what are you gonna do? Still, I have fun. No matter what happens, I always have fun. Okay, so I want to highlight Mr. Malorian here. So he's another YouTuber. You can check him out. He lives in Edmonton. It's 3 hours north where I do. But so for this GrotzCon, he got his son to randomly pick a bunch of things from his faction to play in the last chance qualifier of whatever. And so he's got 2 lists that are just like complete piles of garbage. That he might win some games, he might not. But he's just going to have fun with it. And he made it public. He's like, well, it's like, I think he gave all his cards. Last year, I didn't watch the video this year. I hadn't had to do it. But he gave like just the deck of cards in the faction to his son and just like randomly, oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Or you're just like, oh, I like that model. I like that model. I like that model. So it's like, does anybody have this model? It's one of the only models I don't own in the faction, but my son picked it. And so guaranteed, he's going to have fun that day. He may not win a lot of games, but he's going to have a blast that day, even though everyone else is trying to play super competitively. So, I mean, I love that. I love that. And I'm all about embracing and encouraging that kind of behavior.
No, that's what makes it fun and enjoyable, and it actually makes it a social hobby because it's supposed to be a social hobby. So I think that's a good thing. Super, yeah, kudos to Mr. Malorian then. Very nice. We should probably wrap up here just because we got other stuff to record after this. But real quick, Corgoon said, have either of you tried the Undercity game or are waiting for Widower's Wood? If so, any thoughts on those games? I have not. Have you, Dan?
Nope.
So, right. No. No thoughts. And Juggernauts will always be useful. Yes, that is true. You two talk about the 8th edition rumor mill at all yet? No, we didn't. Just that we were probably going to play 8th edition. When's the next Space Hulk game coming out? Soon. And I think we're good. So thank you guys so much for joining the game. Dan, do you have any closing thoughts on this? Pretty excited about the next Steamroller, or
I love all your faces. And I told you, I'm excited for anything new.
Yes. So good.
I was excited for Grimkin. Then I played like 2 games with him. And I was like, meh. But I love the model still.
You gave him a shot. I mean, that's fair. So.
All right. Love all your faces, even though I cannot see any one of them.
He just likes to imagine it. He draws little pictures of his audience every so often just to remind himself that he's loved in the world. Anyway. So, again, thank you guys all. We'll probably be doing this again in 2 weeks. Hopefully have a little bit more to talk about or some more stuff up. You never know. Anyway, have a good night. We love you. Bye.